how about we start with just introducing yourselves and tell us about the business you work for and then why you've come along to Fusion. Holly, why don't you start?
Okay, so I'm Holly. So I'm project manager at LabSkin Limited. We're a small company by San Hutton. We make, as the name says, skin from stem cells so that we can test for pharmaceutical, cosmetics, and personal care industry, essentially. And the reason why we as a company came here today is to learn in the science sector at the moment. Obviously, we're always employing new graduates from university, particularly. And we want to adapt as a company. We're a growing and evolving company. We want to become better for the graduates, essentially, and the Gen Z population, yeah.
Brilliant. How about you, Jane?
So my name's Jane and I'm the head of HR at Pekin Deluxe on the Sherburn Industrial Estate. We're a food manufacturing company. And I think the role of working in a factory is not particularly glamorous. It's not something that young people coming out of school aspire to do, and actually I think we really need to do a piece about the opportunities that there are within food manufacturing and how that can be a career itself. So how we communicate with that age group is something that we're really interested in.
Amazing. And what sort of preconceptions or feelings did you have about this whole area before today, coming into it?
I think I was really worried about everybody having one opinion about that age group and me being very careful about how I shared my views, but actually it's been really nice to have a very open discussion that is quite honest about the perceptions of that age group and changing those perceptions, I think.
I feel the same way, absolutely. I feel a bit actually naive to it as well. I suppose the only impression I got, obviously we have a few graduates coming through at the moment, but it's more naivety and social media influence in my opinion. And actually I'm glad to talk about this because it's important. And actually what is making this generation the way they are. Actually, and having sympathy and being empathetic towards it. Definitely.
And what are some of the things that have sort of connected with you or leapt out today in the stuff we've been thinking about?
I think so far for me, the thing that's leapt out is that we have a role as employers to nurture the young person in their initial career. And I think unless you're taking on an apprentice where you have that structure in place and you've thought ahead about having that structure, I've often taken on a young person alongside all other age groups and you very much just crack on, get on with the job. And I think we've all got a role to play in how we nurture that individual and develop their communication skills, even if they're not on a formal apprenticeship programme, and how we think about building that into the development we do with our managers to adapt to that.
And thinking communication aspects as well, the
definitely.
communication skills, actually not saying crack on with it, essentially, truthfully, and be like, right, this is now, this is the approach that we do, actually being more aware of the situation that they've gone through, like we've said about COVID earlier on. Obviously, they've got other factors to contend with, essentially. So if we deem it as, they're just not being approachable, adaptable, and getting on with it, as we said before, actually, maybe that's what we need to improve on, the communication aspects of it. There is so much involved, isn't there?
Definitely.
It's a bigger picture, 100%.
I think one of the things I've taken away is that we've always asked for CVs, but when you haven't got a work experience yet, and perhaps you maybe didn't do as well with your grades, which we don't look at anyway, so why we're bothered about asking it, having just a written statement about why they're interested in working for you and what they can bring to that role, or just having them ring up and come down for a conversation. Just thinking outside the box and not doing what you've always done.
And apprenticeships over degrees now, I think, in science. I think that's the approach going forward, like we've just discussed, 100%. It's about that person as a whole, not what they've got in terms of grades.
Say a bit more about that, Holly. Is that like you could offer apprenticeships or you look for people from...
So I know we've got the directors at LabSkin, we do have that approach. We are advocating apprenticeships and things like that in science sector as well as a whole. Many years ago, to some extent now, it's PhDs, postdocs, we advocate that, but actually we're going towards not having a degree anymore. We've taken on new employees who have an apprenticeship only, and I think that's a good way around it because you're going for the personality rather than the qualifications, truthfully.
If you were going to tell another colleague in business about Fusion and this approach, what would you say to someone about what we're all doing here?
I think you've got to have people that come to this that are open-minded, because I think there's still quite a blinkered approach to thinking about the Generation Z. But I think even if you were coming along and you were quite set in your ways, but you knew you had to change, I think having a room full where you can discuss that, where you can actually reflect. I think coming out of the workplace to a completely different venue and reflecting on actually what you do is key, really. So no, definitely recommend it.
It's great to debate it, actually, and having many opinions on it. Because
Different
actually,
sectors, yeah.
Yes, 100%, because it affects us differently, actually, I feel.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think when you're in the workplace alone, I think it's quite biased, truthfully. And I think these kind of workspaces where you can actually get involved opens your eyes much better.
Yeah.
I see it very differently now, truthfully. Even one session.
You both said at the beginning that you were a bit worried that your view might be different to other people. Like how were you seeing? Do you feel like you see them quite positively, Gen Z, or where were you before?
I found that generation quite hard work, difficult, very entitled, lazy, and there's perhaps some of that still sticks, but actually now I'm reflecting, thinking about, well, stop labelling. All you're doing is labelling everyone back and treating everybody the same, and actually there's some real diamonds in there, and they just want an opportunity. And if you don't give them a chance, then you'll never know.
And I think it's perception of social media again. I really do think that. I think that's really portrayed them as a bad bunch, essentially, and it's not true. I remember you can't discriminate. Everyone is very different. And actually, we do have hard-working graduates, and we have seen that. I think we've just got to nurture them in a way that they've got different characteristics in comparison to my generation, for instance. We've just got to nurture it that way.
But be open to the fact that what differences they may have could be things that we can adapt and change to and be better for that.
Exactly.
Because how we've always done it might not be the way to always do it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's opened my eyes already. And actually I'd forgotten about COVID. COVID was essential for the Gen Z, the Gen Z, generation essentially, wasn't it? So actually those things, it kind of wiped out my mind, and actually in terms of communication, again, that has had a massive impact. So yeah.
Amazing.